Greetings, and welcome to Babylon with Vampa. I'm your host, Vampa, and with me as always is my lovely co-host, Deb McMahon.
Hey!
If this is your first time watching the show, thanks for joining us. If you're a repeat offender, I hope you're not shy about pushing my buttons, specifically the like and subscribe ones. And if you've already done that, I hope you'll consider joining us on the Patreon to make the show even bigger. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go right into our Ask Deb segment. Hel Bentley from the band Lick sent me a message from hell. Well, I'm in hell, so she sent me a normal mail and asks Deb, what's your biggest fear?
That's a very interesting question. I would have to say that my biggest fear is soccer players.
Soccer players? Why is that?
Well, one day I attended a soccer game, and due to a mishap, I ended up on the field, and let's just say I left with a splitting headache.
Jeez, ain't that a kick in the head? Anyways, my guest tonight is actor Wyatt Woodside.
Hi, it's so good to finally see you.
Hey Wyatt, thanks for coming down to the lair.
Oh, it's a pleasure,
I know it's hard to get down here into the depths of hell sometimes, so I always appreciate when my guests make that little extra trip.
Anytime.
So Wyatt is one of the stars of my friend, my colleague, and the first guest we've had here on Babylon, David Villio's next feature film, Boxes. And you know what? I'm sorry. This is very distracting. You mind?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I had these on. Let me get rid of that.
What about the on the head here?
On my head. Space squids. They're always trying to eat my brain.
The space squids are very pesky.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised that one got you down here on this side of hell. Usually,
well, when you're traveling through interdimensional portals, it's a risky run.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
The space octopi are also as equally as.
Any interdimensional cephalopod. They're a hassle.
Oh, wow. Okay, that was distracting. Anyway, back to your acting career here with David Villio. I met Wyatt through. Well, this is the first time that we've met in person. Actually, I was helping David do casting for Boxes. I put out a casting call, and our mutual friends Mike and Josie Steck shared it, and.
I reached out to Josie, and then she was like, "Oh, well, reach out to Vampa," and then next thing I know, I was talking to David, and it was amazing. Like, we talked for about an hour and a half, and like we loved the same movies. We were reading some of the same books. It was really one of those like, did we just become best friends? I think we did. And then like he wanted me in that movie, and he was already like, I have plans for next thing. So I can't wait to work with you. And we were just about to hang up the video call, and he goes, oh, wait, I should ask, can you act? Have you ever acted before? And he was casting me and everything before he'd even known that I had ever done anything. But it's been a pleasure working with him, and we've become really good friends ever since. So.
Yeah, David's a really cool guy and really fun to talk to. So
yeah.
I'm not surprised that he was easy to hit it off with.
Yeah,
he's cool. So you guys finished shooting Boxes, right?
No, we're still picking up some of the loose ends here. Keep hitting bumps in the road, but I'm hoping we'll be done with it within before the end of October. Yeah. I'm actually getting together with him next weekend to finish up some of the last green screen stuff I got to do with him. So
cool. And you're playing one of the Bryans, right?
Yeah. Everybody's either a Brian or Brianna.
Right.
So, but
you're one of the main ones, though, right?
No, actually, I'm one of the smaller ones. Okay. But I appear as the reporter of the situation, the guy who really doubts that anything's going on, and I find out the hard way that something really is. Mm-hmm. But since I'm the author and the writer of the story, I'm also playing narrator for some of it. So my voice, I've done a lot of the voiceover work for that as well. So
very cool. I'm excited to see that finished product. He showed us what he had done, like, this is probably a year ago now. Yeah, sounds about right, about a year ago. And he had something pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. No, every time he sits, like, I hang out with him, he sits me down, like, oh, this is the next thing I'm working with. And it's like, I can't wait to see it all come together. I've intentionally not read any of the script but my part, because I wanted to be surprised that every time he shows me something, I'm like...
I've read the whole script, but I think he's changed quite a few things since I've read it, so I'm interested to see what he's done. That'll be fun. And then you guys also worked together on the 48-hour film challenge this past summer.
Yeah.
With another mutual friend. I don't know her, but... You
don't know Sarah? Yeah, she's really great. I met her actually on the shoot of Boxes. Mm-hmm. And, she asked me to be part of the team. David wrote the script for it. And, in 48 hours we shot the whole thing. Actually, more like 12 hours we actually did the filming. Yeah. Put the whole thing together in 48 hours and... came up with something pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with it. So we actually won Best Horror for the 48-hour festival.
That's awesome. Congratulations on it,
thank you.
To everyone who worked on it. You also won the Coffee Cup Award. What's that?
Oh, yeah. We won the Golden Coffee Cup Award for just having the most positive attitude and, like... So there's, like, a lot of downtime. You know how it is on set. There'll be, like, you got to wait for noise to clear and... So there was a lot of time of, like, the camera was pointed on me, but we weren't, like, shooting, and I had a microphone, so I was being really goofy, and a lot of other people were being goofy on set. So we ended up coming up with a whole blooper reel that was just as long as the movie, and I enjoy watching just as much as the movie,
fun.
Too. Yeah.
Did you show it at the screening?
No, I wish we did. I kind of, like, they had mentioned that we had done one, and I was really hoping they'd show it, but no.
That's maybe on the DVD.
Yeah.
So you brought a clip.
Yeah. So the basic premise of Artzin, or Artzin, the name got messed up a little bit. It's supposed to be doctor in German, but it's spelled Artzin, like Artzin. But me and another actress play podcasters who explore haunted houses and urban legends. So we're exploring this abandoned hospital looking for this creepy doctor who does mysterious experiments on people and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to show that the clip will be...
Yeah, and then this clip is like right when we get into the hospital, and one of my favorite jump scares, so keep your eye out for it.
All right, so here's the clip.
What is that smell?
I don't know, but it smells like something died.
You're not kidding.
One second. The air is thick with the dark sense of what these walls have seen. Just the stories we've heard alone have been enough to make the hairs on the back of our necks stand on end.
All right, wow, yeah, that's a super creepy scene of the movie.
Yeah.
That's a really cool location. What's the backstory on that?
It was the old St. Joe's Hospital in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
And our sound guy actually works there. Like, most of it's abandoned, but, they have a few offices that were still active, some spaces they use for storage, so he had the entrance to that, and, like... So we were filming, and it would be creepy every once in a while. Someone we didn't know was there would go walking by, and it's kind of like the shoot where, like, the doctor appears. There would be just random people appearing while we're filming, like. So as the night went on, we were like, oh, we're having fun, but then it got dark, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to get out of this abandoned hospital. It's getting pretty creepy, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if it was actually scary, because.
Like, the two of the scariest moments, one, we had to, like, ride the elevator a few times, and I did not trust that thing at all.
Oof.
There's a shot in the film of me kind of, like, really hesitant to get in the elevator, and I'm like, the things I do for art, and
that was real.
It was pretty real, yeah. And then for that shoot, we wanted, like, there was just a line, like, going down, and we wanted the button to light up. But every floor we went to, the bottom light didn't light up. So we kept checking different floors, and of course the one that worked was the creepiest floor. It was like, must have been the old children's ward. So there was balloons and clowns on the wall, and it's like, you don't see it in the shot, but we're all like, okay, let's get this quick little shot because we want to get off this floor. And it was already like 10:30 at night, so it was dark with very minimal power in the whole building regardless. So.
Wow. Well, that sounds like it was fun. You shot it all in 12 hours.
Yeah.
And then I guess the editor went to work and so
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine doing that. Was it
It's
fun, stressful, both?
Both. It's absolutely both. That's the second 48-hour film fest I've done, and the first one was like the very first real semi-professional film I'd ever done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a real ring of fire, but, credit to every team I've ever worked with that, where everyone's pulling their weight, everyone's throwing creative ideas, and, like some of it you got to come up on the fly and be prepared to roll with what you can do. Mm-hmm. So it's a great creative experience. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're ready to scream in the corner, but, you curl up in the corner, take a nap, eat a piece of pizza, and get back at it.
Yeah, wow. That sounds fun. I thought about doing that, and then I kind of, I was like, I got so much stuff to do. I don't know if I want to pack that into a weekend right now. Maybe next year, we'll see.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that was actually, the same team was supposed to do the horror roulette, which is a similar idea, but you spin the roulette wheel on what type of horror it is, and, we just couldn't get anyone's schedules to line up. And, even though we had a whole month to shoot it, it just didn't come together, so we had to pass on that, unfortunately.
Is that a local one? I never even heard of that one.
I think that's kind of put on by the same people, the Detroit area and stuff, but I've never done that one, so I don't know. I'm just the guy who shows up and looks good and says the word's good, so.
I might want to get in on that if anyone who's watching. I would probably do that next year, or at least think about it. So you did boxes with David. You did 48-hour film challenge. What else are you currently working on?
Well, I just finished up a shoot that's a long-running series of D&D characters. So Day in the Life of the Barbarian. The one I was in was How It Feels to Play the Rogue, which I was really hoping to be the Rogue, but they wanted a stronger actor to play the lead bandit. So I was the guy, the rogue's getting chased, and it's almost shot like a horror movie. You don't see the rogue until the very end, but everyone's getting killed off, and then I'm the bandit with the big pot of gold, so I get killed off in the end. And it's actually, I thought about it, it's the third or fourth time I've had my throat slit on camera, so I'm starting to feel a bit typecast, but I guess I do it well, so.
You're good at getting your throat slit, I guess.
Yeah, I'm often the guy, and it's fun to be the guy who gets his ass kicked on film. I do a lot of stunts and stuff, and a friend of mine said, well, you're the tall actor, so everyone wants to be the guy who beats you up. You're there to make everyone else look tough and strong, so.
You're you look like you could take a beating. Get you in there.
And, other than that, my next project, I can't really talk too much about it, but I'm involved with a Power Rangers fan film from Zenith Films, which the first episode, Power Rangers Gem Paladins, is coming out hopefully next week. They're wrapping up the last few bits of it, and then after that they'll be announcing their other projects, but I'm hoping to be pretty heavily involved going forward from that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Where can you see that?
I believe that's on YouTube. They're really heavily active in social media. They have a lot of engagement on, Instagram and stuff. If you follow Zenith Films on Instagram, they've already got the theme song out for the first episode, and they've been putting out all sorts of little teasers and stuff. So I'm sure once my projects get announced, you'll be seeing a lot of that and me in those as well.
Yeah, I'll put the link to Zenith. Is it Zenith Productions? Is that what it's called?
Zenith
Films?
Zenith Films, yeah. I think you're right. Zenith Productions.
I'll put the link in the description on this video, and you guys can follow and check it out, so you'll know when the new stuff comes out. Yeah. And also, Artzin's on YouTube. I don't know if I mentioned that. So if you liked the clip that you saw, you can see the whole thing on YouTube. So that'll be coming out soon, your involvement with the Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
And I was gonna say with that, I've already been helping a little bit, and I did it the same with the D&D thing, helping out a lot with some of the fight choreography. I'm no professional, but Like, I was a martial arts instructor for years. I've been studying stage combat pretty heavily for the last year or so, and doing, like, even getting more into, like, the professional stunts on film. Like, I was just down in Texas for a 2-day intensive on wire working. So, like, how they make the superheroes fly, or, like, bad guy gets knocked across the room, like, when they're hooked up in the wires. So I got to learn both how to act with that, kind of somehow to rig it up, and how to, like, be the person acting against someone rigged up in wires and stuff. So that was an incredible experience, and learned so much during the whole ordeal.
I can totally imagine that. Yeah. That sounds just like, I mean, you know, working here on a really small scale as a filmmaker, I don't even, like, consider, like, that's even an option.
Yeah, well,
for actors. So to have someone, you know, like yourself in the community is very invaluable.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, I'm still far way off from being able to jump up and do something like that. The more stuff I do like that, the more I start realizing that how little I know about it. But that's, you know, a fun place to be, because that means there's more to learn. But it's, you know, I was amazed at how much, like, learning about the gear and how much, like, goes into that. And, like, we were only dealing with what the instructor could bring in, like, 2 suitcases. So we were limited, and we were in a small theater. So it was really fun to see what we could do, what we could set up, and then watching that evolve from the first thing I did. Since I was a big guy, I couldn't fit in, like, the main harness, so I couldn't fly or anything. But they put me in hip straps, and they had, like, a little petite girl drag me across the floor and make her look really strong, and then, like, throw me across the room. And then that evolved into, like, somebody else doing, like, the Mission Impossible drop. We hanged a guy, and then eventually we had girls suspended, like, from their shoulders and their thighs. So almost like they could do a Superman fly, but we had them doing, like, a bear run where they didn't even have to touch the ground. So it was like a monster run.
Yeah.
And then, like, we kept cycling so, like, most of the girls got a chance to do that, and then all the guys got chased, and that evolved into, like, a little mini horror scene. And even the instructor saying, like, that's very similar to how they did it in Aliens. They had these costumes with prosthetic limbs, so the person couldn't really walk on that, so they're suspended in wires, and then they made the scene really dark with flashlights, so you don't have to see all the wires holding them up and stuff. But it was really incredible to watch that creative evolution. We all pitched in at one end or another, so it was, you know, I'm so glad I paid the money to fly down to Texas to do it, because like, when I saw that was one of the options, I'm like, I'm not passing that.
That sounds really cool. And I saw your pictures too that you posted on Facebook. It was like, wow, I was really impressed. I was like, man, he's doing this. This is really cool.
You know, as one of the instructors who I met at another one of these intensives I did, you know, he makes his living doing voice and body acting for video games. And so being around these creative people and seeing, like, all these different avenues to make this happen has been really inspiring. And him and another friend and I, like, we all met up at the airport and had drinks, and I'm like, wow, I'm sitting here with, like, you know, in the right circle, a celebrity, and I'm having drinks with him. And I'm like, I never would have imagined 5 years ago when I got back into acting and film that, like, I'd be in Texas having drinks with a celebrity, you know? So
that's very exciting.
Yeah, no, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, so when you got into acting, were you already knew some martial arts? And
well, I mean, I've been an actor almost as long as I can remember. Like, I did it in elementary school through high school and college, and paid acting work straight out of college. But, like, it really started, my mom was really sick when I was a kid, and I had to watch my little sister, so I'd put on puppet shows for her. Like, she missed a cartoon she loved, I'd act out the cartoon for her, and then, like, I've been doing it ever since. But fell out of it for, you know, about 10 years in my mid-20s. And then, like, after my 30th birthday, I was, like, kept complaining about how much I missed it. And was like, well, either go out there and do it or shut up about it. And so I went out there and did it, and here I am on an interview show now. So
yeah, that's great. That's very, you know, inspiring. And I hear a lot of people who are doing things like you and I kind of come to the same conclusions, where it's like, well, I loved it when I was in my teens, and then, you know, everyone goes through, not everyone, but a lot of people, I think, go through something in their 20s where they're like, hey, I gotta be normal now, you know, I gotta like be a part of society and get a job and go finish up school or whatever, what have you, have kids, you know,
Definitely.
the things people do to fit in or be an adult, you know. And then you're just like, no, there was that thing that I think about every night when I go to bed, and you know.
Well, it was a lot too for me in my mid-20s. Like my mother's health, she's battled with cancer multiple times in my life, and I've had other family illnesses that took a lot of my attention. So I spent a lot of my mid-20s focused on my family, and then got in a relationship and was focused on that, and then got to the point where I'm like, you know, my life's ticking by. I gotta do something for me, and you know, haven't regretted it yet. So
good. That's you know, it's very relatable. I think like, you know, like I said, everyone has their like thing, and you know, I feel you on that. So I wanted to ask you more about the like kind of the combat stuff and like the stage fighting. 'Cause I'm really interested in it. You've taken other classes then too.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before, I'm a 3rd degree black belt in Hapkido. So, and like that was one of my favorite things in the martial arts was during tournaments. I didn't like fighting that much. I'm not a big fighter, but there was the self-defense demonstration. So we'd choreograph a whole fight and show off our moves. So that was, even when I wasn't acting, it was still like my outlet to act. And I loved doing that. Like I said, this year I started working with the group Theatrica Gladiatoria, which they're more based on stage combat, but like medieval weaponry. We've worked on everything from like fencing and rapiers to last month it was like two-handed greatsword, like, you know, long swords. And it's been amazing learning. Like I always knew how to swing a sword, but now how to do it safely on stage, and the language that they use to describe everything to people. It's almost like medical terminology, where it's like we want it obvious. And I always thought funny about, like, I'm a massage therapist, so I use medical terminology. But it's like we want it very direct and very simple so everyone can understand it. So we use Latin, a dead language. But at the same time, it's like everyone knows what that means, you know? And it's the same way they use old French and Italian fencing terminology. They use a point system to be like, you know, instead of I'm going to do your right shoulder, it's point 1 or point 1A, so that you know exactly where that sword's going. And, you know, there's all these tricks to make it look like I'm swinging full force at you, but even if it hits you, the real momentum's out past you. It's
interesting.
Yeah, it's a little bit of sleight of hand as well, a little bit of stage magic, and then like also relying on the camera to do some of the work for you too. Of
course.
Fun to play around with.
So you kind of have to know, essentially, or correct me if I'm wrong, you have to like kind of know a little bit the like real art of like fencing in order to do it on stage in a convincing way, or not so much?
Not so much. I mean, like my instructors that I work with, Jen and Joe, and other people I've worked with, like they're good at making people who don't know anything look like they know something. And then also not giving you more than you can handle. And then also it's like, just like anything on stage, it's repetition, it's rehearsal. You can't just jump in a shoot and swing a sword around and think it's going to look good. Unfortunately, I have been involved with some things like that. But
that's how we learn.
Yeah. But, it's becoming comfortable and knowing the plan and sticking to it can make something look good even if you aren't a pro. But knowing a bit about it helps in a lot of ways too. Although I struggle sometimes because since I have the martial arts background and I was good with like katana swords and like Asian style martial arts, like sometimes I struggle because I'm like, oh, I learned how to not get hit by getting hit. Like, you know, I used to get hit with swords and then you learn to block. Well, that's not how we want to do it on stage because we're actors and we don't want to get injured. And, you know, the face is the moneymaker, so don't injure that. So it's different, the same, but... so
you kind of have to unlearn some things if you know the style of fighting.
Some things, yeah. And then kind of, you know, get over some of that muscle memory of like, yep, I'm here to connect, as opposed to like, I'm pushing past you or something like that. It's...
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot, and like I said, I'm, you know, only been really working hard on it last year, and I'm still coming to, like, I'm no professional at it by any means, but I absolutely love it, and it's been so fun to work with.
So do you think there are any ninja movies in your future, or any sort of swashbuckling
films in your
future?
Well, that's another one. We've been trying to wrap it for last year and a half, but it's another one of those, just like everyone's got real lives and trying to get together, but it's kind of like this epic Templar Knights and Mongolian hordes and Islamic nomads all vying for the same piece of land. So we do have a lot of sword fighting, and that's one I have done a good amount of the fight choreography for. But even I did that before I started working with these groups, and some of it looks good, but now I'm looking at I kind of could do better, but also we're relying more on some camera tricks than true stage combat to make it look good.
Very cool, very cool. I'm excited to see what you do with that.
Yeah.
That's cool stuff. I'm really. I've always I grew up with loving the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Right there with you, huh?
So
right
it's I've always wanted to learn martial arts, or I wanted to learn. I think the Jeet Kune Do, the
Bruce Lee's martial art, yeah.
And I don't know why I have it. And it's just one of those things.
No.
I honestly. I think maybe being a woman's a little part of it, because it's I don't want to go in and there's a bunch of strange men and I got to get over that.
Understandable, yeah.
There's a lot. But one day I'm gonna get over that, and I'm gonna show up and learn, and then I'm going to be the female Jackie Chan. No, but I do have that fantasy, I'm just a natural virtuoso, and
oh yeah, well that's
I'm the best fighter ever, just naturally.
No, it's funny you mentioned Ninja Turtles. That's people always ask why'd you get into acting, or why'd you get into martial arts, and it's it really does all come back to I wanted to be a Ninja Turtle when I was 5 years old, and that dream still hasn't died.
Yeah,
and there was a very cool moment when I was tested for my 3rd degree black belt, and was sitting with my parents, and we ordered pizza, and then I had been skateboarding, and my parents were you know what, you always wanted to be a Ninja Turtle, here you are with your black belt, you're eating pizza, you skateboard, you surf, you're there, man. So it's...
And you're even wearing the green sweater right now.
Oh yeah.
So who are you, a Raph, a Mike, a Leo, or
Mikey all day.
Mikey?
Yeah. I also do nunchucks. Swords have always been my favorite, but yeah, character-wise, I've been Michelangelo all the way. The party dude, man.
Raph is always my character.
Okay, yeah.
But I kind of went back and forth between him and Michelangelo.
I feel those were the two characters that they really spoke to the children with.
Yeah.
Although it always surprised me hearing different people's favorite turtle. One of my best friends, he's oh, I love Donatello, and I'm that nerd, why? And I'm but everyone, that was there was something for everybody.
There really is, and then there's even with Casey and Splinter and April too.
Oh yeah.
And of course I did relate to April as the girl, but I wanted to be more, I guess, instrumental than April was.
Yeah.
And then they did have the female turtle, but I was off that. I didn't watch the show. It was too weird. When I was a kid, though, I would cut out of cardboard boxes. I would make my own Chinese stars.
Oh, okay.
And those were my weapon with my neighbor. And we would throw those at each other and pretend we were doing martial arts. So.
I was actually, I'll never forget the first time my little sister's first boyfriend ever met me. I was practicing with my throwing knives and ninja stars, and he comes up to the backyard, and I'm throwing those and sticking them in a tree, and he's oh, hi, nice to meet you, and I'm yeah, that's great. Anyway, but that also makes me think, too, talking about how I'd always been an actor, I had a Michelangelo costume. And I want to say it was the 2nd or 3rd day of kindergarten. I came to school in my Michelangelo costume.
Hell yeah.
And I was committed to the character. Everyone's oh, hey, Wyatt, nice costume. And I'm no, Wyatt's not here today. This is Mikey. Wyatt couldn't make it. I'm filling in for him. And they're no, it's you, Wyatt. And I'm no.
That's cute. That's cute. Okay. We got really just off track talking about Ninja Turtles there.
could talk about Ninja Turtles all night.
Oh my god, I could too. I'm still not over Ninja Turtles. I still, if like I'm having a bad day, I'll put on that old cartoon. And just recently, I rewatched the movie.
Same.
And it's a little boring, but I think it like holds up.
Oh, definitely.
So, what's your favorite type of character to play?
I like a challenge, but it still has to be someone I relate to. But it seems like stage-wise, there's been three things that have always kind of drawn me in. Either playing a crazy person, or someone pretending to be crazy, or someone that you have to question their sanity. A smug, overconfident actor. I don't know why I keep get cast for that. Or I love playing multiple roles at once. I love, especially on stage, where being someone and then have other people going like, yeah, you were great, but who was that other guy? And I was like, oh no, that was me too. Like the last role I played kind of a crazy, goofy guy who thought he was wanted for murder. So he disguised himself as his long-lost twin brother with an eye patch and got to be the suave, debonair, ladies' man that he always wanted to be. And then at some point I kind of like lose the thread and kind of got to break character and go back and forth between the two. And it was, again, a real challenge, but something like I could relate to, as weird and wacky as it is. Like, who hasn't felt like, oh, I'm this goofy nerd and the person I like will never like me. I wish I could be more bombastic and more confident in myself. And like we all end up playing a character like that even in our everyday life. So so like I said, I like something that I relate to, but at the same time, like, I have to find how I relate to that person.
So would you say the challenge is sometimes like you're finding that relatable thing in the character that you can latch on to?
Yeah, I kind of spend a lot of time trying to understand this person's, I don't want to be like their motivation, but who they are, and then kind of see where in my life would I make those same choices, or, why would I do the things that person is doing? And so sometimes it feels a little cheap because it's like, oh, I'm just turning that character into myself, but that makes it a little truer than like going way outside of something that I'm obviously not as well. One of my favorite roles I ever did was I played Chief in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And that was a really hard role because, I mean, so much of it he's just in a corner, which I loved because that's one of my favorite movies, favorite books, and like so I got to
really great role. Really
I got to watch my favorite show. I got the best seat in the house. And then steal the show at the end when I do come back to life.
That would have been cool to see.
Yeah, that was. I made my father cry with that one, so that's how I knew I was like, okay, I did it, and that was one of the first times he's like, you can actually do this. So that meant a lot to me.
Oh shoot, yeah.
But same time though, like it, he's a very repressed character. He's been holding himself back, and this was shortly after getting back into acting that I realized, like, no, I'd been doing the same thing, not to the same extent, but I'd been watering myself down for society. I'd been not being who I really wanted to be so I could fit in with this group better. And then it just got to the point where I'm like, I'm tired of doing that. I'm tired of watering myself down for everybody else. So
yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure that role, probably validated what you were feeling already, and probably just made it stronger in you that you were going to keep being more yourself.
Yeah, and also, like I said, I had family health issues, so that end scene, I don't want to get too into the heavy emotions of that, but it was a little, cathartic for me to live through a moment like that and kind of use those old emotions that I'd been dealing with to portray a character, take my own inner struggle and make it something entertaining to other people.
Yeah.
I often say I think acting is a way of emotional alchemy. You're taking your emotions, your nervous energy, that stage fright, and turning it into excitement and turning it into laughter. You're taking your pain and you're turning it into a lesson for somebody else.
Yeah.
You're taking and it also takes them out of their daily life and makes them forget their bullshit for a little while. So it's a, I don't want to wax too poetic, but it's a magical thing in that way, that we can kind of make all of ourselves forget that we're all just, sitting here on a set, it's that's the fun thing I love about acting, finding a group of people who are a bunch of adults who are willing to play pretend with me.
Which is fun.
Yeah, because I'm still a little kid at heart.
Same. So I get it. And yet the relationship between an actor and the filmmakers and the audience, even if it's on stage or if it's on the screen, I think is just of emotional connection.
Definitely.
So I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll get deep and poetic about it. That's okay if you don't want to.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's. I think it's one of the most profound ways that we connect to one another, like on a not. What's the opposite of like individual, interpersonal, like on a grander scale, like acting as far as like movies and theater and music. Those are like the two really emotional connectors that we just all have.
Definitely. I mean, it's something we've been, storytelling and music have been things we've been doing since, the dawn of humanity. And it's, in a way, like, theater's a little bit of a superstitious thing because you're playing with the spirits, you're talking about the dead people, you're bringing an old story back to life, and you're embodying someone who used to exist or maybe never exists, and it's a really fascinating act of creation.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to get into this, what your takes on the difference between acting for theater on the stage and acting in film, but it almost is like both of them I think are kind of ritualistic, but maybe more so with stage acting because you're doing the same show that so many other people have done before.
Definitely.
And that it already has a really deep tradition, like you're talking about with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's a novel, it's a movie, it's been performed on stage countless times. So you're kind of, it's ritualistic in that way.
Yeah.
And then Kenneth Anger talks about how, like, every time you make a movie, it's like casting a spell because you're just doing all these things and you're putting in all these different ingredients at different times and made this completely different thing at the end of it, and it's going to be affecting other people. Yeah. So it's like...
Well, I'd say, with stage, there's this... So there's always a suspension of disbelief with listening to any story. But, I didn't look a lot like Chief, although in the book he was part Native American and part white. So, I didn't do anything to my looks, but people just accepted that I was that character without going out of my way. I wasn't going to use bronzer or anything like that. Whereas film, you have to accept, no, that is that person in that story. People can superimpose their imagination on stage, but in film, it's no, that is the picture of that person. That is this moment happening. So unless you're recreating another film, which, not many people would really want to see, or I guess there's a lot of remakes today, but I still don't want to see those.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, it's a very more precise and defined thing where it's no, it's not this character. It's that image, that picture is that person. So
but on stage we're willing to kind of use our imaginations maybe a little more. And then you expect the filmmaker to use their imagination,
make it real for you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just in a lot of things about stage, but yeah.
Another thing I've seen more, and I noticed a lot with my 48-hour film, that I still need to learn how to be a little more subtle for the cameras. Because on stage, the running line is you're playing for Aunt Mabel in the back, the very last seat, and she's deaf as a post, her glaucoma's acting up, so you got to be big and over the top for her to be able to see even the simplest actions. And I was noticing that in like the film, that I was kind of like, wow, I'm reacting to everything, and I'm really like bigger than I needed to be. So I'm like, I need to dial that back a little bit more, because I'm just playing for the camera, and the camera's right there. It's going to get it, and if it doesn't get it, we're going to do it again and again and again and again till we get it. So, whereas film or with stage, you work on it for months, and then you go out there and you make it happen regardless of what happens. Where film, it's like you can spend hours. Like one of the first films I ever did, I spent probably an hour and a half just knocking over a stack of boxes and setting them back up and doing it again, because we couldn't get it to fall right. We couldn't get our murder weapon to fall out right. So I was like, me as an extra, I almost spent as much time in front of the camera for that one shot that only lasted less than 5 seconds than the leads doing their dialogue. Because where on stage, it's like the box fell, you got to go with it, whether it happened or not. You got to find some way to make it work. So.
Yeah, that's something I just saw. I just saw Josie's second, Misery, who was on the show a couple weeks ago.
And she was absolutely fantastic.
She was fantastic. And I had not seen a live play in years. I couldn't remember the last time I had. And the thing that I had, and I'm also right now, I'm writing comedy sketches for Planet Ant, and we're going to do a show in March, so I'm kind of on the stage kind of mind frame of doing things, and how I've been writing for the stage for a few months now, and it's been something to get used to. And then now, having watched a stage performance today, I realized that filmmaking is different in that you are a perfectionist when you're making a film, and you're not when you're on stage. It's like someone might stutter a line, or like start to say their line, and then it's a little overlappy, and it just keeps going, and it's really natural, and you don't really notice that. It's just people talking. But in a movie, you're like, cut, do that again. People don't talk like that. But like, it's really weird because it's not natural. People don't talk like that. But you want that perfection. Like you were saying too about what you expect to see. Same thing. I think it's like filmmaking is perfectionism, and stage is more raw and organic.
Well, and you have to be a bit more flexible with the stage, because like you're saying, if something goes wrong, you got to be ready to pick up. You got to pull a line out of nowhere to fill in whatever the problem is. And like you said, like I've always felt pretty confident that, like, even if I screw up on stage, nobody else is going to know it unless I go, sorry guys. Like that just kills it, or
you
like
just
you can't
keep going.
You can't admit when you screw up, because then everyone knows, and that's kind of a lesson in life too. Because sometimes if you just keep going and act like it was nothing, then like most people aren't going to notice or care. Really,
I want to just take a quick little break to tell a story about myself. But when I was in kindergarten, I was in dance class. And our dance performance on stage involved bouncing a ball. Just a couple times during the performance, we would bounce it once and touch it and grab it. And of course, for a bunch of 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, that's like the hardest thing in the world. There were a couple girls who were just like, boom, I do it perfect. But I struggled a lot. I practiced so much that I still remember it was a Minnie Mouse ball, and I still remember Minnie Mouse looked like bouncing up off the driveway, and I was like, I'm not going to drop that ball. And the dance teacher said, now listen, if you drop the ball, just keep going. Just pretend you're holding the ball and just keep going. So, okay. And we had 2 performances. The first night, I didn't drop the ball.
Excellent.
The second night, I dropped the ball, but I remembered what that woman said, and I just kept going like it didn't happen, and I was fine. And I remember I was like pretty upset afterwards, and my mom made such a big deal. She was like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud. She bought the tape of that performance, and I did not understand why at that point, because I was like, I messed up. Why did you like that I messed up?
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I'm proud of you because you kept going. Like they told you to. You didn't freak out. And I was
Definitely.
like, all right, I was too stupid. But that I always think about that.
Oh,
though.
definitely.
And that was a good lesson for life. I learned that really early.
Definitely. I know that reminds me, my freshman year in high school, one of like my first like big high school drama classes, we had to do the end of the semester play, and it was just like a bunch of fairy tales. But there was one, I actually won like the drama club award for best cover, and I played the king who was looking for the prince for my princess, and I was interviewing princes, and like they were supposed to offend me, so I had them executed or taken off. Well, one of the guys just didn't come up on stage. He just didn't feel like doing his part. So me and the girl playing my daughter are just kind of like, and so I just was like, well, I can't just stand here. So I was like, well, where is he? He's late. You know, I called the guards, and someone who was dressed as a guard for a completely different scene runs up on stage. And I'm like, when you see that next guy, kill him. And then we just jumped right into the next scene. And it was, I don't know, like, it was in the moment where I'm like, I got to do something. And, you know, no one's coming to save you. So you got to roll with what you got.
Yeah. And you'll be surprised what you can find when everyone's eyes are on you.
Oh,
you know? Like,
yeah.
So do you have experience doing improv other than that? Is that something that you...
Yeah, like I studied that in college. Like I studied a lot of theater, like I said, from elementary school all the way through college. A friend of mine and I used to go to the Improv Inferno in Ann Arbor, and we used to do like their open mic night every night. And also, like, I'm just a goofy guy, so yeah, if you throw something weird my way, I'm gonna come right back with it. And so, yeah, I love making things up, and that's, you know, that's something I've loved about these like stage combat things and getting back into acting, like that, being around other people who are willing to just, what they say in improv, yes and, you know, not going, no, I'm not walking my dog, but like, yes, but it's a cheetah, or like, you know, rolling with it as opposed to like canceling that imagination. It's a fun thing to do. Yeah,
it is. It really is. And I'm learning a lot about that in writing sketch comedy too. So I'm more interested in improv than I used to be, as far as I'm kind of learning about that. So that's interesting. What do you have something you like better? Do you like acting on a stage better than film, or is it so different that you just like both because it's acting?
I mean, I love acting in all its sense. You know, I've been struggling now since I'm doing a lot of indie film, and I mean, I'm just doing community theater, but like, at least with a play, it's like we set a date, we rehearse those days, the show goes up, like, it's very planned out, you know, and sometimes with these indie films we might not rehearse, we might not, it's like, it's there, you're sitting there for them to sit up the shot, and then it's like, okay, be in character, which I like that challenge, but it's a lot different than, okay, I've been pretending to be this person for 3 months now, and I can walk out there and be that person no matter what happens.
Yeah.
It's two different demons altogether, but I love acting, I love entertaining people. I mean, I think theater will always have a special place in my heart, but at the same time, I'm excited to be doing more film and being able to reach more people and hopefully get paid for it someday, which, I mean, I've been paid for some stage stuff, but
yeah,
it's, yeah, they're both great.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank you again, Wyatt, for coming down to Lair and having this conversation.
It's been a lot of fun. It was a real pleasure.
Yeah, we had a lot of good conversation and covered a lot of interesting ground that we've never covered here in Babylon. So
excellent.
I really appreciate that. Just to remind you guys, you can check out Artzin on YouTube. It's Ace's Head Production by director Sarah Felicity Root. And that, again, if you forgot, it won Best Horror for the 48-Hour Film Challenge here in Detroit. So it's worth checking out. It's also under 8 minutes. So if you have a very short attention span, you have no excuse. Also, be sure to follow Zenith Films so you can be updated on when the new Power Rangers project comes out. Thanks for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for the 15th time.
Thanks so much for having me. And,
of course.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Good night.
Night.